Episode 1 was a little bit on the nose, but the reason why both Zyuohger and Ninja were chosen for this specific episode was because both seasons are actually anniversaries in their own way. Zyuohger being the last anniversary season for Super Sentai's history, being the 40th anniversary, and Ninja being the 25th anniversary to Power Rangers. And the first episode actually has a bit of a prologue story where it shows the Go Rangers, the Jew Rangers, and the Kira Majors being trapped inside of the Dark Gears. And everybody knows that Go Ranger and Jew Ranger were both firsts for both franchises, because Go Ranger was the first for Super Sentai and Jew Ranger was the first for Power Rangers. Episode 2, things got a little bit tricky here because the second episode introduced the Goggle 5 gear, and I was wondering, why would they choose this? And then I remembered later on in that episode, going into spoiler territory, that the main monster of the week took control over the giant robot from the first episode. And the reason why Goggle 5 was chosen for this specific episode was because Goggle 5 was the first Sentai to introduce the Monster of the Week, taking control or piloting a giant robot to take out the Rangers before the Megazord fight. So that was something I actually found pretty interesting after thinking about it. But Hurricaneger was chosen because Hurricaneger was the first Sentai season to start off with 3 Rangers and then have 2 Rangers join into the fray. But other than that reason, both Yellow Rangers on that team are lion-based, with Gallon being based on a literal lion and Hurricane Yellow having the lion headband and the lion symbol on his chest.
Episode 3 was Majin's introduction episode, and therefore the Sentai gear used for this was actually related to the Pink Ranger of that season. Sure, Tokyuju was more or less used to get out of the icy plains that was the frozen lake. But, however, though, when the magazine scans were showing of the Tokyuja gear, and of course the episode trailer also showed it, that it was Majin's introduction episode, I remembered that Kagura wanted to be the strongest girl and the strongest member of her team, and therefore she was pretty much a main focus character for some episodes. Also including the Psycho battle as well. So basically I put 2 and 2 together, and because basically Majin wants to be the best magician, and Kagura wants to be the strongest girl. So that's where I kind of made the comparison there.
Once again, like with Majin's episode, this episode was Varun's debut episode, and therefore the Sentai gear, this being the Die Ranger gear, was used because both Blue Rangers on that squadron were very popular amongst the cast. They had a lot of focus episodes dedicated to them. Soji was by far probably one of the many Blue Rangers that changed the formula from the calm, collective, smart guy, and Varun is also that same person in that category as well. And that's pretty much all I could really put together with this. I could also say that the villain that they were fighting was a martial arts theme, or in this case with wrestling, and the Die Rangers fight is also technically martial arts. But other than that, the 2 Blue Rangers being center focus for most episodes is the only reference or Easter egg that I could really put together for the moment.
For the Versus Zenkai Red special, Part 1 didn't use any Sentai gears, but Part 2, however, though, does use 2, this being Lupin Ranger and Pat Ranger, because this was the first time that 2 leaders were represented in a Sentai, and this special sort of emulates that. But another reason why this was chosen was because in that same special, Kaito is visited by the white leaders of the past Super Sentai teams, as well as Red Ranger. It would have made more sense, though, if Patora Nichiko's gear was used by Kaito instead of Lupin Ranger, but I digress with that little fact.
Episodes 5 gears, while at first I thought that they were just based on their certain Sentai tropes from the Monster of the Week, it turns out that both of these actually have to deal with the food item in question from the monster, this being the sushi monster. Q Ranger being chosen because Chef Spada liked to make certain cuisines, and his main motif for Kachiki Yellow was a swordfish, and fishes are used for sushis and such. And Ryu Soldier, once again, was based on Ryu Soul Pink, who would eat a lot, including takoyota and sushi. Episode 6 gear actually involved around the theming for this episode, since the monster of the week was a trash monster with the theming of recycling and having the planet in mind. It was kind of fitting that the Sentai gear that they used was the Go Buster gear. And for those of you who don't know, Go Buster's main objective was to protect the Enertron Towers. And the Enertron Towers in that season were developed because they wanted to provide a clean source of energy for the planet. And that was sort of interesting to actually take a look at, because honestly I thought the Go Buster gear was going to be used for any future episode that had to deal with spy missions, but it was nice that they used it for a pretty good moral. Okay, there's a lot of ground to cover with this week's gears, but I'm just going to try to make this short and sweet. The 6 main gears that Star Caesar used to fight off the Zenkaijers were based on their motifs: Go Ranger, Mad Ranger, so on and so forth. Flashman was used in the final attack for the Zenkaijers in their giant modes because Flashman was the first team to use the quote-unquote giant cannon slash bazooka, and the Geartlinger is actually based on the revolving cannon from Flashman as well. Also, the Go Ranger gear was used because they were the 45th Super Sentai season, and this was the first time that they actually used a team finisher altogether that didn't involve their guns this time around. And of course, they used a giant eraser to erase the copies, which I love in the campiness of it all. And like in Gokaiger, Kakuranger was used to get away from the monster threat, in this case the evil Sentai Ranger clones. And Gao Ranger being chosen was because in their respected series that they fought against Dark Ranger clones at least twice in their respective run.